2 for you back-to-back. Ellie Goulding and Love Me Like You Do, and Leona Lewis, her new track, and Fire Under My Feet. Coming up to 10:20, I'm delighted to say once again we are joined by our business gurus. These lads know everything about business, from the legality side of it to the setting up side. Paul Wharmby and Donal Bannon, good morning.
Good morning, Adam.
Morning, Adam. Nice to see you again.
Yes, you too. Pleasure to have you both back in.
Thank you.
And for people who don't know who these gents are, well, I'll let you introduce yourself for any new listeners out there.
Okay, I'm Paul Wharmby. I'm the Managing Director of Advanced Business Vision Limited, based in Hoylake. We pledge and give ourselves to businesses across the Wirral and beyond. We actually complete business jigsaw puzzles, so anything to do with business planning, sales, growth, development, marketing, social media, all those wonderful things that people need a bit of help with, we're here to help.
And I'm Donal Bannon from Morecrofts Solicitors, and I head up the commercial team, so I deal with all sort of business sales, contracts, forming companies, selling them, whatever it may involve from the legal perspective relating to business.
And I urge the listeners to get in touch. These people know everything about it, and if they don't know, then it's not true. If you don't know, put it that way. Get in touch with your questions. Get in touch with your questions. 66777 is the text number. Put the word Wirral in front of it, then your question. You can ring us up 015 637 3737 or email studio@wirralradio.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, the lads are on Twitter, go and give them a follow while you're on there as well. Right, we finished off last week. We had to finish off last week because of the news, sadly. But we finished off. We didn't quite finish it last week, but what should a business plan contain? I cut you off halfway through.
Oh,
sorry.
It was fine. I didn't take it personally. I just understood. Yeah, my colleague here, Donal, was yawning away, but it was time to finish, so apologies. I think we got to the point where we were looking at, what should a business plan contain? I'd mentioned the background, the current position, the market opportunity and the market segment analysis, and I'd got to what we call gap analysis, and that was when Donal started falling asleep. So I'm going to be very quick today. A couple of other things that you need to put into a business plan are barriers to entry. What could prevent you entering the market with a service or a product? Try and understand, the barriers that are out there, and more importantly, how would you get over those barriers? What have you got to do as a business to go through them? Obviously, you need evidence, so statistics and data. Do your homework, look at the financials, look at maybe the size of the market out there. What percentage of the market would you be prepared to get? What could you get? And then really the key numbers. Look at P&L, profit and loss, as we say every week. You need to know a snapshot at your business now, but also project it out. You need to look at the balance sheet, where you look at what assets you've got against liabilities, key things that you need. But as we always say every single week, the most important thing is the cash flow. You need to know where your cash is in your business, what's coming in, what's going out, what's in reserve. Without that, you are down the street, so to speak. And also think about a sales forecast. If you're selling a service or a product or goods, think about how many of the product you're going to sell, how many services you're going to sell, what price is it going to be, and just build all those key numbers into your business plan. And then a few conclusions, a few recommendations with some sort of action plan to say, we're going to do this by this date, and you're going to do it, Adam, or I'm going to do it, Paul, or Donal's going to do it. Just get those things in place. It's all about doing your homework and having the preparation. I think that's about it.
All I would add to that, I wasn't yawning really, I've heard it all before. Obviously when you're doing forecasts, they have to be realistic. There's no point just pie in the sky stuff, and when you're looking at increasing your sales of, be it services or goods, you must also consider, do I need to acquire more resources? Who's actually going to do this? Who's going to make the product? Who's going to deliver the service? What's that going to cost me? Because obviously that has to come into the bottom line as well.
Absolutely, and I echo that. A couple of months back I worked with a client on the Wirral who had a particular engineering business but wanted to shoot off and do a different strand, totally different from engineering, but a great idea. Did all the marketing, did all the work, did a bit of business plan, came to the point when saying, but there's only two of us in the business. The two of us in the business are now totally engrossed in our engineering products. How are we going to do this? And it was like, right, okay, how are you going to do it? We're going to have to take some more people on. There's the cost element. Immediately it had to be shelved because there was no income being generated from the second strand, and really to push it to that level there would have to be more people in the business. So they're going to just take a step back and go slowly. But great point there. You need to look at, when you're forecasting, they've got to be accurate, not pie in the sky, finger in the air, which way the wind's blowing sort of stuff. Really understand what you need to do from a forecasting point of view, but also look at what additional resources you may have to bring into the business.
And the converse of that is, I obviously advise insolvent businesses businesses as well who are struggling. So they're looking at what are we currently doing, where can we save money. So it may be it's actually hiving off the most profitable part of the business, and unfortunately that might mean redundancies for the staff who are doing a different line or a different part of the business. So it's all about making a profit at the end of the day, otherwise you may as well just stay in bed. Absolutely right. We say that every week as well, don't we? Cash is king, but and the thing that generates the cash is the profit in the business, because every business has got what we call an element of revenue, which is the sales, and then realistically everything else is a cost. In real terms, everything else is a cost, and it's simple maths. You take one from the other and you get what we call a bottom line. It's either a profit or a loss. And don't forget about the tax. Absolutely, take your tax off as well. Absolutely. Make sure your accountant or you know about that. But ultimately you've got a bottom line figure. That's either a profit or a loss. End of. If it's a loss, why are you doing it? If it's a profit, well done, and keep it going. Simple as that. And these two gents can help you. If you're struggling to put one together, then you can go to these two gents and they will support you and put them all together. Absolutely, we're there to help you. Brilliant. Right, we've got loads of questions to get through, by the way, so I hope you're prepared today. Oh, well, we'll do our best. Space play for you next.
Wirral Radio Daytime, brought to you by Car Farm Garden Centre. A growing shopping experience on the A553 to Hoylake.
Looking for a new way to market your business without breaking the bank? Want to build your brand but don't want to be tied into a long-term...
Well, that for a long time. Space and Neighbourhood on 92.1 Wirral Radio, on DAB and online. Myself, Adam Sidorn, with our business gurus today, Donal Bannon and Paul Wharmby. Good morning, gents.
Hello again, Adam.
Right, loads of questions to get through. I want Paul to start off. Well, one towards you. I've heard you much about business and investing in your people. Tell us some more. What's your take on investing in people? Okay, we're into the team approach again. Together everyone achieves more. I really believe that. That's part of my culture and my beliefs and my ethos. People find that a bit cheesy though when you say that. I love it. They all go, here he goes again. Shaking his head.
Sounds very American.
But it's true. I do believe in people coming together as a team in businesses. It takes more than one person in a business to make it a success. Yep. Unless you're a total sole trader and you can ultimately do it all yourself. If you can't, you need the people around you to have a number of different attributes. One of those attributes is skills. So to me, about investing in your people is looking at the people you've got. If they haven't got the skills that are needed to do the job but are showing the right aptitude, in other words, they want to learn, they want to do well, they want to get on, they want to help you, invest some time in those skills. Upskilling is a key word today we use. Try and get those people to the level where they need to be to fulfill the role. Hopefully when you've recruited them, you'll have understood and found out, are they able to do the role? But if there's a bit of a change in jobs, maybe they're moving on to a different position within the company, offer some training. It works wonders for morale. It works wonders for ethos and culture within your business. You're investing in you, your business, your bottom line again, because ultimately your people will be able to do the job. Think of the scenario, and we've all had this. It's called bad customer service. Go into a shop to buy something and everybody's standing there behind the tills or the counter talking. You walk up to the counter, they don't even look at you, they continue talking. What does that say to you? One, should I be buying from this company, this store, this retail outlet? Why aren't they involved? Why aren't they engaging with me? And you know what, I've got a choice, I can take my business somewhere else. Spin that on its head. You walk into a company and you immediately made eye contact with somebody. Someone says, I'll be with you in a second, if they're busy but they've acknowledged you, or how can we help, or they can see you want serving. They leave you with an experience which is enjoyable. You don't mind that, do you? When they take the time out to say, listen, you want it. Give me 2 minutes, I'll come and see you in a sec. You want it. So then you get served or whatever by the company, by the people, because it's the people that matter. People always deal with people. So ultimately then you have a good experience. You tell other people, as we've said before, that word of mouth, that recommendation. In business today, I believe, if somebody gives you a bad service, you will probably tell 10 or 15 people how bad it was. If someone gives you a good service, you probably tell 3 or 4. So guess what? I'd always give good service, because if you don't, more people are going to know about it than if you give good. I think, it's about training, it's about upskilling, it's about leading, showing your people that you care for your customers, for really giving a good level of service. Think of some of the big major brands out there. One is an airline.
I'm not going to mention the name. Think about how they operate. They go the extra mile. Why do they go the extra mile? Because they know it makes sense. It makes good commercial sense. How do they get their people to go the extra mile? They train them. They tell them how to do it.
Well, talking about airlines, of course, we do know from press recently that there's quite a popular airline who was famous for delivering bad service and being very rude to customers.
Absolutely,
and so on.
Yeah.
And now they've discovered actually they can make a lot more money by being nice to people.
Yes.
And they've tried that and it worked successfully. Said, you know what, we're going to carry on doing this.
Yeah.
So everything Paul's just said is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
There's one thing he didn't mention, of course, and it's very important, is communication. Because if management does not explain what the goals are of the business, what we're trying to achieve here, and get everybody on board, subscribing to the same, working together to deliver that, so they may come across opportunities, that bright ideas may come to them. If they don't feel confident about expressing those, then they won't happen. And we all know that often the best ideas come, from the lowest levels in any organisation. Just because something's done always the same over years doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Absolutely.
Bright ideas can happen and can often save the business a lot of money. And of course those ideas should be rewarded.
Yeah, we said that a few weeks ago as well. Senior management in businesses, owner managers, directors should involve the people in the business. Don't just think, because I'm a director, because I'm, in inverted commas, the boss, I know it all. I'm better than you. Forget that. If you want your business to really grow and develop and be successful, encourage engagement by everybody, and I mean everybody, because as Donal's just said, someone in your business might come up with a cracking idea that you think, my God, I need to do that. That is fantastic. So communication is key. Then, having put all these things in place, the training, the upskilling, the communication and whatever, if your business is still not performing or your people are not performing, look at performance management issues, and we've said that before. But give them the tools to do the job. They should reward you. If they don't, you've got some other issues, obviously.
And I'll say, at what stage you think, okay, maybe it's just the staff who can't do it?
Well, if that's the case, then you have to go through what we call a performance review system. And again, it has to be a policy in place where everybody knows, I'm going to give you the skills, these are the objectives, this is what your role entails, this is your job description, this is the key targets, why aren't we hitting them? It can't just be you're not doing your job and bye-bye anymore. It's got to be through a process.
But again, it's pre-planning, isn't it? Because you should be able to identify at the outset which people in your workforce are capable of doing the job, invite those to apply. And indeed, if there's others out there who may not have the confidence to apply for it, encourage them to do so. Because it's often only when they're doing the job that confidence is gained.
Yes.
That's the perverse thing.
Definitely.
So, absolutely, it's all about encouragement and communication.
Yeah. But the key again, though, sorry, Adam, is about recruitment and selection. If you've got a business and you've got a role to fill that somebody in-house can't do, or maybe you're expanding, you're looking to take on more people, make sure your recruitment and selection process is also robust and solid. You know the type of people you want, you know the skills that you need, you go through the process correctly, so when you do bring people into your business, they've at least got the basic skills, or maybe all of the skills that you need to fulfill the role.
How difficult is it, though, if you got the job and someone doing the job, they're not doing anything wrong, but you know that they could do better, but they're doing their best, and you think, maybe you're not the right person for the job, but they're doing nothing wrong.
But isn't that a contradiction? Because you said that they're doing their best, but they could do better.
They're doing their best, but it's not the best for the business.
Okay, you mean they're not up to it?
Basically, yeah, because you can't go in and say, right, I'm going to sack you, because at the end of the day, they're not doing anything wrong.
No, and if you've offered the training and the skills and they still haven't got it or aren't able to do it, then perhaps you're only causing them extra stress by asking them to carry on, because they must know that for themselves. You sit down and have a chat with them, and see how they're feeling, how the role's going for them, and whether this is something they want to pursue themselves. Perhaps they want to try something else or go back to the role that they had. It's all about communication, rather than forcing somebody to carry on just because you've decided that this is what's going to happen. No, you review where you are. And you say, right, it's not working out for us.
Don't cause the employee or you, as an owner, manager, director of the business, any more stress than needed. Open up a conversation. Talk to each other. I can't do this, or I'm not comfortable doing this because, and look for some sort of compromise, a way forward, a way to resolve the issue that is actually being presented to you from both sides. Because if the employee's not happy and you as an owner, director, manager aren't happy, that's not a very good situation at all, is it? Surely it can be resolved. If it can't, as Donal said, maybe there's an opportunity to move back to the role you had, maybe go to a different role, whatever. But talk. Open the communication channels.
Right, I've got more questions about that because something's just sprung in my mind. So hold that thought. We're coming straight back to it. The Alan Parsons Project plays for you next. Brilliant track, the Alan Parsons Project and Games People Play on 92.1 Wirral Radio, on DAB and online. Business Gurus here until 11 o'clock today. Don't forget you can use these gents away from the radio, on the radio. I would advise you use them. Right, picking up from before the break, we were talking about business, obviously, because you're the business gurus, but for example, if a boss knew that the employee wasn't great, but the employee thought they were doing great, and there was somebody waiting in the wings who could do that job better, but the manager's got no way of ousting the person in the current position, how would he go about doing it without upsetting them and without breaking the law?
Well, it's funny that you should ask that question just after the last track in Games People Play.
Great link.
Because, it could be a game and a performance, but a decent employer won't play games. It should never come as a surprise to an employee that they're not up to the job. I mean, if you are not hitting your targets, and assuming that they are reasonable, that a reasonable person could actually achieve those targets. For example, if you had a car dealership, for example, and you had a team of car salesmen, and everybody else in the team was regularly hitting, say, 10 sales a month, and one chap was struggling with 5, then despite the fact that, the employer's putting in support and training and letting them buddy up and helping them to try and get more sales, it just wasn't happening. Then you go down this performance management route and say, right, well, unfortunately you're not hitting the targets, what can we do to help you? We're going to review the position again in another few months. If you haven't hit your targets then obviously there will be consequences, so it won't come as a surprise to that chap at that time. But you can't just simply say, well, we don't want you to work we don't want you to work here anymore, you're off. I have to give people a chance to perform and give them the assistance they need, because again, if you don't ask them the question, you don't know if they're struggling for some reason or other that you can actually quickly and cheaply address. So you must talk to...
Echo everything Donal said, really. It's about communication. And again, realistic and reasonable and fair targets. If it's a salesperson's role, and as Donal said, if one of the members of the team is struggling, find out why they're struggling. Speak to them. Just because an employee is an employee and does a role for you as a boss, a director or a manager, doesn't mean to say you don't talk to them. You should have a handle on every part of your business, and the key one is on your employees, because if they're not performing, your business isn't performing. And if it is a case of the person involved, the employee, is not performing for a number of reasons, as Donal said and as I said earlier, give them some training, give them some support, give them some assistance, buddy them with somebody who is hitting the targets to see, can some of that methodology, whatever it may be, rub off on the employee who's struggling. But help them and support them. Put a review process in place. We're going to look at this in say a month's time, in 3 months' time, and review it. This is what we said we'd do, didn't we? Yes, we both did. This is where we are now. We haven't hit it. Why haven't we hit it? Because of this. Talk to each other, resolve it. And ultimately, it might be the best thing for both parties if the resolution doesn't lead to the correct outcome. It may be time to part company, for the employee who could be getting very stressed, who may not feel comfortable, who's going home and having maybe sleepless nights because they're not doing what they should be doing in the way of hitting the targets. They may love their job, but are they performing is the key word. And then for the business point of view, that person is not performing, maybe that you can get somebody else in who can. And if you do it and follow the procedure and do it right, there's no problem at all. You're doing the right thing for the business and the individual.
So as long as you follow the correct procedure, then they haven't got a leg to stand on.
That's right. I mean, basically, there is a conflict there, isn't there? The interest of the business and the interest of the employee concerned. But as an employer, looking after the welfare of not just one but all of the employees, so you must do the right thing by the business at the end of the day. By all means, help and support, get them to where they need to be. But if they're just not up to the job, they'll probably know that themselves and want either a different role or a different employer.
But you do get some people who are stubborn and just say, no, I'm staying where I am. Well, what are you going to do about it?
Well, then they're going to have to face the facts of life. You will go down the performance management route and you will give them every opportunity to, get those sales. But if they don't, ultimately, they'll be issued with warnings and ultimately dismissal.
Right, Donal, we have a question for you. Bit of a problem. One of our, not ours, but one of our biggest customers have gone, but they've gone bust. But they owed this company a lot of money. How did they go about getting the money back? Is there a way of getting that money back after the company's gone?
The old money to the station? Yeah. Well, yeah, so unfortunately you haven't supplied goods you can go and seize and take back, so you'll just probably end up as an unsecured creditor at the bottom of the pile. When you say bust, some people use this term as meaning that it's just closed the doors. If it's properly gone bust and it's in liquidation or administration, something like that, then there's an office holder who actually receives all of the claims up from the creditors of the company, sells the assets, pays their own costs first, of course, and if there's anything left over, we'll pay the secured creditors, those who've got charges on the company's property, assets and so on, first, and then whatever's left over they will give to the unsecured creditors. Depending on the size of the company, there may be a reserve pot of up to 600,000 for the unsecured creditors. So it's certainly worth contacting the office holder in those circumstances, telling them about your claim, evidence, invoices and so on, and then they will accept the claim, and if there is to be a dividend payout from the sale of the assets, then you will receive so much pence in the pound. Now, usually you don't receive that much, to be in fairness. It could only be 10, 20 pence in the pound, but I have seen jobs, been involved in jobs, in fact, where creditors have received 100 pence in the pound. So it's not always doom and gloom. It rather depends on the circumstances of that particular field business.
But it is a long process to go through.
Not necessarily, no. I mean, it may be that the company that's gone bust was aware of should have been aware of its financial difficulties for some time. Perhaps they've been quietly courting interest from somebody willing to buy them out. So it could be that the sale of assets could go through very quickly, in which case, obviously, the liquidator or administrator has the money at hand to deal with creditors' claims. So it doesn't have to be a drawn-out process. Again, it just depends on what it is you're trying to sell. I had a job a few years ago trying to sell 3 ships from the Nigerian National Shipping Line that went bust.
That's different.
It is different, yeah. One was actually on Ellesmere Port, and there was actually a crew on board. And in fact, they were there for so long that some of them had married and had degrees in university and children and all sorts of things. That took some time to resolve, but that was a bit unique. But most liquidations actually, can be dealt with within usually 12 months, certainly.
Right, sadly we're out of time.
No problem at all.
Already.
Enjoyed it as always.
It flies by.
Fantastic.
It's gone, that's it. And so if people do want to get in touch with you two for information, Paul?
Yeah, I'll give the details out. Yeah, we have a dedicated telephone line, so anybody can phone this number and speak to somebody at Morecrofts or somebody at Advanced Business Vision. It's 0151 668 0363. Websites are morecrofts.co.uk, advancedbusinessvision.com. We're both active on Twitter. Our companies are active on Twitter, so please follow us. It's at Morecrofts or at ABV_LTD. And we've also got a catch-up service where people can listen to the show again without the music, just the questions. Well, unfortunately, yeah. And that's on YouTube at the moment, so you can search for Wirral Radio or Advanced Business Vision, and it's up there already.
Brilliant. Once again, chaps.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, yeah.
And don't forget, any questions for the chaps, feel free to send them in now and we'll get them all up and get them set up for next week. studio@wirralradio.co.uk is your email address. Going back to the 90s, it was a big hit first in New Zealand in the mid-90s, came over here a year later. OMC, How Bizarre, on 92.1.